What's up, guys? It's John Dominique, the Soul Proponent. Today, I want to ask a question, which is there room for liberation? When I ask this question, it's in the light of the Christmas season. When Jesus was born in the manger, there was no room for him at the inn. And what I want to suggest is that this is a metaphor or a simile, an extended metaphor about the soul. Because once people learn about the soul, they end up turning their backs on it and saying that they don't have any room for it. It tends to be put off, it tends to be delayed, it tends to be buried, it tends to be rejected, it tends to be a low priority when people find out what the path is about. And the signal that there's no room in the inn for Jesus is pretty much the same. It's the same representation, or it's symbolic for there being no room in our hearts for the truth. So is there room for liberation in our life, in our experience, in our awareness, in our consciousness? Most people, in theory, they want to have room for liberation, but this is a process that slowly but surely takes away our grounds, it takes away our security, it takes away our comforts, it takes away the standings that we have, the investments that we partake in our identity especially. We're very much invested in who we think we are, who we want to be, what we want to happen. We have all these ideas of what we think would be best, and that's normal. I'm not here to say to just trash all of these things, but I am trying to say that to have room in our hearts for liberation, we need to slowly begin to see that the source of our suffering is the fixation and the attachments to our ideas, our ideals, our goals, our ambitions, our desires. Attachment and fixations are not the liberation of the truth that sets us free. The truth that sets us free sets us free. And the way we go about experiencing the truth that sets us free is by practicing non-attachment, and then applying the practice of non-attachment to the practice of non-attachment. It sounds good in theory, but in practice, very few people will go down this road, because they'll start to see how painful it is. They'll start to see their deficiencies. They'll start to see their inadequacies and their vulnerabilities. Nobody wants to face the feeling like they're going to be erased out of existence, because that's what it does. That's what it feels like. This identity starts to disappear, starts to disintegrate. Our attachments become loose, and we are scared that they're going to be gone forever. And this identity of who we take ourselves to be, we don't want to lose this. This is very important to us on an unconscious level. Now, nobody goes throughout their lives thinking about this outright. It's very unconscious and it's very deep. There's many levels to this, and we have to continue to work this identity of who we think we are very deeply all the time as a lifelong process, and put all our energy, all our effort, all of it. When God says, lean on God with all your understanding, all your strength, all your mind, all your spirit, that's kind of what this is about. Like, we have to put everything into it. There's no holding back. You have to put all your eggs in one basket, do or die. It's very difficult to do. People will do it halfway because they're kind of hoping in the future that they can still fulfill their dreams and live according to what they want to happen. And maybe that will happen in the future, but as we clear the way, make room for liberation, we have to know that when we do that, we have to be willing to let go of everything that we're trying to do, all of our efforts. It's very difficult, as I explained, and you can see why. I mean, if you try it for yourself, you make a little progress, most people, and then they tend to give up because they don't see they don't have much incentive to do it. It feels like it's not worth it. Like they're not going to get anything out of it. But I'm going to propose that the value that we seek from building this identity of who we want to be and what we want to happen and accomplishing our goals, the value in that is embedded in the process of spiritual awakening and liberation. Liberation, the freedom from attachments and fixations, embedded in that experience of spiritual awakening is an infinite value. So, forfeiting, what profits a man if he gains the whole world but loses his own soul, is the quote that comes up here. And the richness, the pricelessness, that's what we're really longing for on an unconscious level. We think we can get it from materialistic gains if we just get rich enough, if we just have a house big enough, if we just get famous enough, if we just get enough accolades from our peer groups, if we just have many achievements and awards and trophies. We think that's what will get it, and we think if we just try harder and pile up on diamonds and gold, and we think that'll do it, but it won't. And we can see for ourselves in our own experience. Go and try for yourself and see what satisfies you. You can see that we're almost never satisfied because the satisfaction doesn't come from these materialistic gains. It comes from the soul, the truth of who and what we are, our being, our essence. This is the fabric of who and what we are, the freedom of liberation. The pricelessness embedded in there is what we're all longing for on a deep level. And the beauty of it is that we can experience it for ourselves. We practice non-attachment and then practice non-attachment towards the practice of non-attachment, and we can try and see what it is for ourselves. At first, it'll be scary. We don't know what's happening. So there's going to be like feelings of emptiness and nothingness. Allow that to be there. Allow yourself to develop and to be comfortable with letting go and having a feeling of nothing, of being dissolving, of being erased out of existence. That nothingness, that emptiness, if you stay with it long enough, has the possibility to be infused with everything. You think it's nothing. Our minds are not aware enough. We're not smart enough. We don't have the knowledge and the know-how that emptiness is not something to be avoided. It's not something to be judged. So we tend to have this judgment against emptiness and nothingness and liberation because it seems scary. It seems there's blackness. It seems terrible. It's terrorizing. We want to get rid of it. We hate it. And this is the crux of the message today. Like, there's no room in our hearts for liberation, for the process of liberation. And we need to see why. Because we judge the process, we judge the results as no good. And judgment is a downfall of mankind. It's not the first bite of the fruit that does the most damage. It's the last bite. That last bite is us judging the emptiness as something bad to be avoided. No, don't do that. Don't. So here's the thing. It's not, you can't just wash it off with a hot shower, this tendency to judge, because it's unconscious and it's embedded in the fabric of civilization. So if you are judging, I would say don't try to not judge, which is kind of a counterintuitive, upside down. But the way you want to think about it is just watch it and see it and how it operates, and expand your awareness so that you become bigger than the judgment. You become the seer, the awareness, the perceiver of the judgments. And then you expand your awareness more into the emptiness, and that you become the awareness and the emptiness. And you'll see how that emptiness can change. If you give it some time, it'll change its properties, and it'll infuse you with other properties of richness, compassion, joy, peace, love, tranquility. These are real qualities these are the real versions of the false qualities that we think that we think that we can get by reaching and grabbing for stuff. So it comes to you naturally. It's not something you can control. So that's the thing about it. When people start to feel, oh, I need to have joy, I need to have compassion, I want to have, those are all good things to desire. I'm not saying not to desire them, and I'm not saying to just throw away your life, because you have to survive. The basics. You need shelter, you need food, you need water. It's not a matter of throwing away your instincts to survive. We still need to have those. Allow them to be there. They're going to be there. They're going to come out no matter what. So it's not trying to destroy them and trying to put them away, and not, it's just something else becomes more important. And the priorities have to shift. So having room for liberation in our hearts it's a process. We have to be aware of how it happens, what it does, how it can happen, some examples, and start questioning what's in the way. So that's one way to work. Spiritual work is to question. It's an art of inquiry. Well, if this is a true thing, why can't I feel it? Why am I always attached to my attachments? Why am I so fixated? What would allow me to be less attached, less fixated? How does spiritual awakening happen? What's in the way? What do I need to do? Universe, can you help me? Please show me what I need to do. Please show me what I need to see. And if you're sincere about this kind of inquiry and this kind of a prayer attitude, a humble attitude, and not knowing, if you embrace that in its entirety, if you start living your life, the universe will show you funny ways gives you funny answers that you didn't even expect. It might not come right away, but the answers will eventually show up to you in your own experience, in your own way. And you can kind of see it's like a reward system, a feedback loop. When you start to get an answer, you say, oh, wow, wait a minute, this is kind of good. I want more of this. It starts to feel like the terror that you feel when you face the emptiness. You start to crave it after a while. It's like an acquired taste. And after a while, you're like, you know what? I want more of this. And you start to clear your head, clear your mind, you clear your goals, and sweeping away, keeping your room swept. When John the Baptist came, he's like, clear the path, make a straight path for the Lord. That's what that's about. It's clearing all of the impurities of our hearts, of our minds, of our ambitions, our fixations, our desires, our reaching and grabbing. And it's a matter of loosening our attachments to those. And after a while, the process begins to take over, and it takes you over. Something else starts to live your life. You don't live your life starts to live you. That's kind of the process of spiritual awakening. So we need to make room for this, because this is important. People think, oh, it's more important that I believe in Jesus, blah, blah, blah. So that's more fixation. That's not the path. That's a more attachment. We want liberation and freedom. It's non-attachment and practicing the practice of non-attachment towards the practice of non-attachment. So we need to make room for our hearts for this liberation. This spirit of Christmas, this is what it's about. We need to understand that this is a thing. It's a real thing. And it's so important for us. It's important for our health. It's important for our well-being. It's important for humanity on a global cosmic scale. John Dominique, the Soul Proponent. I hope you guys get something out of that.